Hopefully, once they get up and running, they don't have any more cars running. Order of business that call to order. Tim Jazz is present.
Jim Kazan, President.
Lars Anderson, present. Bill Larson, present.
All right, 4 out of 5, we have a quorum. Not that I don't know, we haven't voted for anything, but. Item 3, action items, the 2023 architecture review board calendar dates. Did we approve that? Oh, well, shouldn't we, aren't we supposed to approve the last?
Meeting, yeah,
Yeah, that's missing on here. So,
adoption of the, or approval of the last year's minutes, and then adoption of the agenda.
so last meeting's minutes, so,
That was last February, yeah.
all right, so I'm gonna. Put up to. Again, I wasn't at the meeting, so you guys can read the meetings and whoever wants to. If it's approvable, if someone can,
Yeah, I read them online and I motion to approve the minutes.
I second.
all in favor,
Aye.
aye. And I'm just gonna ask, and then I'm gonna ask a couple questions about, since I wasn't here. The notes on that thing later, so. Now, Nick, you said we gotta approve the calendar dates at this point?
Yeah, so it's just, you know, like it doesn't have to be anything formal, it's just going over them, seeing, you know, are you, are they good for you all? Again, it's just not anything where, you know, if we don't have a quorum, we don't have a quorum, or if there's something on the agenda, then obviously we won't meet. But yeah, so those are up for your review. They're not on there.
Yeah, they're not on here, but I thought they had approved them at that last meeting.
Yeah,
It changed one day to November 8th date, because obviously that's the election day.
Yeah.
There's that.
Yeah, Bill pointed out. Did you point out another one, Bill, on here?
I don't recall.
yeah, and then we also had a meet today because town council obviously met on January 10th, so we need to change the dates, so that's why we need to do it, so.
Again, without looking at the dates, I mean, the dates are what they are as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Does anyone want us to review the dates? Again, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
exactly. I'm barely know what I'm doing for them. Okay, so
I looked at the dates comparing to the calendar and didn't see any conflict with any holidays or anything else.
do you want to make a motion to approve?
I make a motion that the calendar for ERB for the calendar year 2023 be approved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so open forum, anyone want to discuss items. I know we were talking about some stuff
Yeah.
off record here, but
Well, the Newport Indigo, is kind of close to the color, but I don't care. It's not a personal opinion. It's just if it's on our approved color chart. So you were unaware of this, correct? Is what you're saying?
Yeah, I was. Yeah. So a lot of times what occurs is there are businesses in the town that are not aware of of their location in the ARB or
Right.
historic overlay district. So once they put something up like that, it's my job to kind of, hey, this is what you have to go through. And for something like that, what had happened was it was just something that, I was trying to deal with when I saw it, kind of worked with them on it. And it was something where, we've had issues with that site in the past where things like this have happened. So just trying to work with them closely to kind of get them in line with the design guidelines, but also being aware that they have to open soon. So trying not to, prevent them from, having signs up for their business. So what I kind of talk with them, if if they have to replace them or change the color in the future, then they could do that. It's fairly straightforward with the types of signs that they have up right now.
so have you requested that they put in, because those canopies are supposed to get approved?
Yeah. So
Have you requested them to actually put in a request?
yeah. So
You know it's retro?
yeah. So how I did it, there is a clause, and I'm sure you all are aware that if it's a minor work, I was able to exempt it. And for that, I exempted it because it was just them replacing the awnings, and I didn't want to hold them up from opening up on time. And if you all had concerns, I would go back and kind of talk to them about it. And it's one of those things where they're going to have to come in anyway for another sign around on the building itself. So, but yeah, they are aware of what they have to do now.
And that's correct. It didn't used to be exempt, but it is, because we discussed that it's on the approved color chart.
Yeah.
You can make that approved.
Yeah, and that's what I've been doing too for a few of these things in the overlay district, just to, because I know I wanted to be safe with you all, with having to meet in person now, trying to limit the amount of times we meet, but also trying to streamline the process for these business owners if it's a sign that's, small. And I'm still holding them to the ARB design guidelines in terms of color scheme, just making it so that I can approve it administratively, but just know if there's like a larger development coming down the pipeline in the future, it will be brought to you all to get approved for the architectural.
Yeah. If it's borderline and it's questionable that it's on the color chart, then you probably should.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Definitely agree with that. And now with all the posters on the front, and you said you've already.
Yeah, I've already talked to they're allowed to have it. It just has to be a certain sign or a certain square footage.
Certain percentage of.
Yeah.
the storefront area.
Yeah, storefront area. But also, of course, dealing with them on other aspects. That's another like co-compliance thing that's not related to, the ARB, but we're dealing with them on other things along those lines. So
Well, I thought we do have some within the ARB that you're not allowed to have.
electronic.
No, signs stuck to the front of the windows except for a certain percentage. Isn't that within?
I believe so.
I have to take a look, but I would also talk with them about that. They're very open to doing whatever is up to code. So it's basically just trying to tell them, hey, if you're able to take this down, that'd be great. It's not per the ARB design guidelines, it's not permitted. And they were actually not aware of that until I contacted them. So it's just one of those things where they have to learn after the fact.
Okay. Question for you, Nick, are there other, like the awnings
Mhm.
on that one, are there other ones that you have been approving previously or in process of that is in-house? Because the reason I'm asking is if you do that, it would be nice, even if you're doing it in-house,
Yeah.
just to shoot us an email. and say,
Yeah.
"Hey," that way, when Jim is driving down,
Yeah.
to see something funky, we're not like, hey, that's not supposed to be there. We'll already know.
Yeah, and I know, I think you did say something about that, and then I responded, so I could do that in the future, just like to kind of update you all.
Yeah,
Just,
keep us in the loop.
yeah, because there's things where there are signs, like specifically if it's like 10 square feet, like there's some that, I'm not saying that's happened, but like if it's something like that size and it's very small, I definitely would just handle it administratively, then tell you all after. But it's also, we haven't had that issue in the past because a lot of the businesses along Main Street have been empty. So there's not been any signage really out there.
Well, I'm thinking way down the future when that big town center gets built and that first floor is all
Yeah,
commercial spaces, we don't want to have a gazillion signs. And so if you, again, it's the whole thing, well, Donnie did it, so I can do it.
yeah. Well, yeah, and that's another thing. Well, so you all are aware that's coming. Yeah, so that's what I was gonna go back to. That's coming back. That'll be back before you all soon. The previous owner sold the property, so it's,
Oh, really?
yeah, so there's a new project going in there. Same sort of concept, but it will just be apartments and townhomes, so there might not be signage there per se, but it'll be, you'll have to look over the architecture for both the townhomes and the apartments as well. So that's one of those things where it's gonna change, and that I was gonna bring that to you all before at that point. But that's gonna be that will be in the pipeline. So that architectural aspect will not be what was approved, I think 2 years ago now, right around where I started.
And
Yeah,
that's a shame. I actually like the mixed use thing. You don't want just, that's a real shame. Because
Yeah.
That,
I know what you're saying.
that spaces would have. Townhomes and homes don't bring people into the town.
yeah,
It just bring people to live. They gotta go somewhere
Yeah.
to eat and shop. That's why I like that first floor.
Yeah.
Is because there's gonna be stores there.
yeah. And that's a good point, but it's also, I know this is maybe off topic, but it also, there's a lot of commercial space that's empty in the town as well. So that was their concern, is bring that other commercial in there. Are the people who are the tenants going to be able to afford the rent? But also we had this other 40,000 square feet of commercial across the street. It's at Point Center. So these owners also bought that property as well. And they're 85% of that space is empty as well. So they kind of didn't want to overpromise and underdeliver.
Yeah,
But they wanted to be more realistic because,
it just changed the whole vibe of the place. Though.
yeah,
There is a lot of commercial space everywhere.
yeah, but
People working from home and whatnot.
yeah, but they actually, I will say, one part of the design, they kind of have like a promenade that they have proposed, like on the catty corner of Main Street, that looks very nice. That'll be like an open park area where they want to have like farmers markets and other things along those lines, like an open space area where people can congregate and people will want to, be there. There's not really any space like that in the town right now. So we're trying to draw the fine line of being beneficial for not only the town, but also for them as well, being property developers. So
Well, I'm sure they're looking at it for all people that are gonna be working at that.
at the Rose, yeah, at the Rose, yeah,
I actually had a conversation with the lady, they're husband and wife, right?
no,
They're not?
no, they're not.
Okay, well, the woman, when I met her in person, that was the first thing I said, what you were saying, and she paused for a minute. She paused, I was like, yeah, that would be different. But then, when I got to talking to her and then talking to town manager and whatnot, it kind of made sense what Rick was saying, not Rick, Nick,
Close.
about the, about the other commercial spaces in town and trying to get people to, because once the roads opens up, it's gonna entice people to come in.
Sure.
And so I like that idea better, but I think for what they're trying to move on now, this is going to be more, it's going to be a faster project. It will still work as far as the people that may be enticed to come here with the community that will be coming.
Mhm.
And so, it kind of changed my perspective a little bit, but I was disappointed.
Yeah, it's interesting to think as well, because there's been a variety of versions of that project, and in the last 10 years, there's been three or four versions of that project submitted, and they just didn't build. And these new owners are very interested in building. They want to get by the end of this year, they want to try to start building. So they're very enticed to like start the development now. So that's the other aspect of it. But yeah.
All right, so the other thing I've got is, again, and I mentioned in that one email, is that neon sign, because
Yeah.
signs are not
So what property was it? Is it the thrift store? I asked them to take it down, I believe. So they should take it, because that's what happens. Again, they don't know,
Sure.
and I'll let them know, and I'll tell them, hey, can you take this down? This is something where after the fact, kind of ask them after, because a lot of times they aren't aware. All they know is like, oh, I have this property, I want to do what I want with it. And then just kind of my thing to follow up with them.
Yeah, as long as it's in the pipeline.
Yeah.
What about the sign? You seen the one at the business over there by, where they got it all lit up? With,
I think
That's-
that's out of.
Yeah, it's only in the ARB, only
That's only in this. Yeah.
overlay district. Yeah, if it's in the overlay district, generally speaking, people are generally pretty good about not having them.
Yeah.
But just, yeah, but I appreciate you guys telling me when there are signs like that.
And then so. Up is that an entrance into Rosie's where they're doing all that, so that's gonna be an entrance in.
Yeah, that's gonna be entrance in the rose.
Are they having signage?
Yeah, so that's the other thing. So that was one of the things where the flexibility for the historic overlay district, is partially in the historic overlay district, but we drafted the language with the town attorney where they have to have historic colors and historic it'll be a freestanding sign, so they have to have it, they'll have it as brick. But we did it so that we also consulted with Prince William County, because they own the property next door, the Williams Ordinary and the Rose, they really wanted to have a EMC there, which is an electronic messaging center sign. And I asked, I get what they want to do, that trying to draw the fine line of allowing those in the town. In the overlay district, but still maintaining the integrity of the design. So what we came up with was a way the entire sign will be brick, but then they'll have the sign itself will be like changing, but it will only be so bright during the day and night. So we wanted to make sure that it would not affect the historic property next door or impact those drivers. So trying to be cognizant, because I know obviously, electronic signs were not permitted in the ARB design guidelines, but also it's kind of, when you're trying to bring developers in, you have to kind of draw a fine line of like, hey, we understand you want this, but we also need to keep in line with the design guidelines to a certain degree. So kind of drawing the best of both worlds. In our scenario, we couldn't get exactly
They were accepted out of electronic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's only permitted in the PMUD zoning district, which only that property and the property next across the street, which is the old First Town Center property. Those are the only two in the town right now that have that zoning designation and are in the area that would be in the historical overlay district. But again, still adhering to a lot of, the structural guidelines and trying to be respectful because
You're just the general design aspects of it.
yeah, just trying to be more flexible. Cause I know the last time the ARB design guidelines were updated was 2018. And I think we're going to be updating them this year and the next year at least to kind of reflect the changing times and trying to respect the historic aspect of the town, but also bring it into 2023 as well. But that's 5 or 6 months down the line. So it's not going to be anything that's going to happen really soon. So. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Again, along the same lines, about the entryway to the casino property. And that is, I presume, within the overlay district. Wait, is there any question about that? Because Williams Ordinary is next door.
Yeah.
And it's all there, it's all right.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to confirm that, so if that's the case, I would expect that the casino or one of the is going to have something enticing and somewhat monumental to attract.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And since it's within the overlay, and since the casino is probably going to be opening sometime later this year.
Yeah.
I would presume that they're going to have the entryway constructed.
Mhm.
If that's the case. Do we get a chance to see what it looks like? Am I missing something here?
Oh, no. So they're not going to be basically what they're going to be constructing. It's not going to be on the ordinary site, but they're just constructing the roadway itself and the sidewalk. The part that's the sidewalk is actually right out of, I could send you all the plans, but it's nothing. It's just because to a certain point, Colonial and Main Street. So Main Street has to be designed to VDOT specific standards. So they require it to be designed a certain way with a certain amount of sidewalks and things like that. But it will not impact the historic site that is the Williams Ordinary.
Well, that sounds good, but are we going to see anything, any material demonstration of what this looks like? Any drawings, any conceptual?
Yeah, I could provide that to you all later this week. It was something I think that we didn't think about when we did when we were looking at that intersection, because not all of the property itself not all of that drive will be in the overlay district. A portion of it will not be in it. So there's only a portion that's in the historic overlay district, but I could provide you all with the plans.
So bottom line is, it's an electronic sign.
Yeah.
In the historic district, next to a historic property on the registry.
Yeah.
An electronic sign should not be allowed there,
Yeah.
period. There's plenty of historic, look at Aquafarm, look at Blacksburg. They got a good balance of, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But still, it's contrary of what other historic towns do and what our design guidelines say.
Yeah, and I understand that. And we consulted with the folks who are actually the employees who work at the Ordinary, and that's the historic preservation part of their, not board, but part of their department's house there. And we asked them, I even asked them, hey, do you have any issues with that? And they had no issues with that. which is, again, I was very surprised, and they actually said that they were a fan of the sign design, which I was, again, very surprised by as well. So they said,
You know, it's nice that they're not too concerned about it, but that's really something that
Yeah.
should have been thrown on our plate.
yeah, well,
I
and
understand where you're coming from, Nick, it's a lot of money, it's a big,
Now,
Yeah.
company and big project, but still. Again, it's one of those things where. Jim's been on this board the longest, I've been on the second longest.
Yeah.
He's spent over a year combing through every word and every sentence on those guidelines.
yeah,
And going over it and reflecting from multiple sources from other historic districts and what was allowable, what shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah.
Literally went fine tooth comb through this thing, and we came up with what we thought was an extremely good consensus of what we wanted to do, because again, it's one of those where if you don't have something written, then you're just gonna get ridden over by people doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
And then saying, well, I didn't know. Well, that's why we put things in there so people would know. And then again, it's one of those things, well, big boy Johnny can do a big electronic sign, so I should be able to do electronic sign type of scenario. And then it's one of those where, well, they were exempt from here, and then you try to explain. And then we've done this over the years where people have come in and said, well, they've got this, and why can't we do that? And then, you know, well, we're not allowed to do that, so why didn't they have that over there? Well, at that point, we didn't have
Yeah.
guidelines to follow. That's why we did the guidelines. And now, again, this is one of the reasons I said we should have a meeting, even though there wasn't a big.
Yeah.
Is that these things are going to snowball over time, especially with all the development that the town is trying to create and trying to get in. So again, once you allow something in that's clearly objective, an opposite of what the rulings guidelines say,
Mhm.
then we might well not even have guidelines. And we might not, not even talk about it.
Yeah.
Because again, it's a wild west.
Yeah.
Again,
If I could just refer to, what I thought was the concept of a long-range master plan. That essentially, at one point in time, it was thought that, the existing southbound Route 1 was going to be practically a pedestrian mall or a pedestrian way. But in any event, the brick sidewalks, colonial style lamps, new buildings going in with the accoutrements that would remind people of colonial heritage. And that was the thought that for the extent of the overlay, that it would tend to have that kind of aura.
Yeah.
And now I understand that we're getting this change,
Mhm.
a dynamic economic mover, which is all good. But I think that the things that we considered before are going to be altered significantly. And I could just ask about Route 1, will it still be one-way southbound? Or is it the street going to be turned into a side street where probably Boulevard is going to still going to carry all the traffic? Do you have any? Any information on?
Yeah, so I could speak to that. So they've approved the design now. So basically what's going to happen around 2027, we will become owners of our Main Street, and it'll go north and southbound. So this will it'll be the same. There's just going to be a cul-de-sac over near the Quantico gateway at that light. So where that light is, where you go all the way south and you hit the Quantico gateway on your right, there's going to be a cul-de-sac there. That basically it'll be a cul-de-sac. So you turn around and you can come back down north, if that makes sense.
So it's basically a dead end.
Yep, exactly. And they're going to expand Fraley Boulevard. Basically, it'll be I think 3 lanes or 6 lanes each way.
3 each way, I think, from what I remember.
Yeah,
I'll say 6 lanes each way, because then that.
I think 3, 3, yeah, 3. 3,
It'll be in the middle of the.
3,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm incorrect. It's 3 each way, so. So with that, and also I will speak to, the inconsistency with, the planning over the years. It's been hard because of the staff turnover. There's been a lot of staff turnover in the last 20 or so years with the planning department. And it's hard to piece things together over time. So we're doing the best with what we have available. And I know we definitely are going to be updating the comprehensive plan in the next year or two again, because we have to review it every 5 years. And the last time it was reviewed, I think, was 2014. There was an update for the small area plan in 2020, but to be frank with you all, I don't think that I don't think it really fits the town as well as what they're up. I don't think it was the best plan per se for the town. I think it was very out of scale compared to it's too large for what the town is. There's only so many parcels in the town that are open for development. A lot of the parcels in the town are in the RPA. So there's going to be a lot of things out there that prevent development in certain areas along Main Street specifically. For example, so the property next door, a quarter of that property is in the RPA. You can't build in the RPA. You can't encroach in the RPA either. So that was another thing in 2014 when the comprehensive plan was created that they really did not look at. And there's a lot of things that we've learned over the years that have to be updated. So I definitely understand your question where, we do create the comprehensive plan for a reason, but it also, there's some issues that arise over the years from we didn't have a zoning ordinance with a town until 1980. So there was no proper planning until 1980.
Well, and that goes exactly to my point I was just making about our guidelines and not adhering to them.
Yeah.
Because again, if you didn't have the zoning and you didn't have the comprehensive plan and that needs to get updated to keep things in line. So you guys are getting all those things updated to keep everything in line with requirements. And that's where we spent 2 years ago, a good year doing those guidelines to get them up to the quality that it should be for a small, old historic town that town of Dumfries is.
Mhm.
And again, now we're finding out that we're getting a sign, which is going to turn into signs. I can almost guarantee you that are not falling within the guidelines that we had spent.
Well,
Sweat and tears on.
Yeah, I understand.
Something before I forget.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to chime in a couple of times on some points that were spoken. But before we go too far, I want to lose my train of thought. One, I understand what y'all guys are saying about, the history of the town and trying to keep things, make sure things stay historic. But also, with that particular business, I understand the importance of the type of sign that they're looking for that business. So it's kind of a touchy situation based off of what that is. Yes, it will probably open doors, but a business like that depends on the marquee before their advertisement for their entertainment stuff and all that. That it is, times are different, like, if we don't give a little bit, we're not going to come up to what people are looking for, even future commercial, possibly investors want to see to even entice them to come this way. I'm not saying change everything, but there's got to be a medium somewhere. And then the other thing I wanted to say is, you made a good point. If you administratively can make some decisions. And it's different from maybe what anybody up here was thinking, or we just make a decision and then it goes to town council. And they decide they want to change it or do something.
Mhm.
Then why is the board even here?
Yeah.
You know, you might as well do away with it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that doesn't make anybody up here look good. Because that suggestion wasn't taken into consideration, or maybe it was, but it just got overruled. But then how do you look at the end of the day? On this side? You know,
I hear you.
Yeah, it's hard to draw a line, but
Rhetorical question.
Yeah.
I'm asking you this.
Yeah.
Reason. What is the name of the developer of the casino?
so now it's owned by Churchill Downs, who does the Kentucky Derby. They bought the company Colonial Downs in a purchase last year or early this year. I think it was 2022. So basically they acquired all of the properties and projects that they had. So Churchill Downs is now the.
Oh, that's kind of interesting because it puts it more in the sense of being Churchill Downs has its own tradition.
Yeah.
But I was thinking Colonial Downs, and I thought, well, that just the name of the corporation gives you an illusion of something historic.
Yeah.
So that would be a bargaining chip for getting an appropriate sign.
Yeah.
In the corporation. Okay, so that you've answered my question there, but it's no longer Colonial, it's not Churchill.
Yeah, Churchill Downs. Yeah.
And this brings up a question in my mind that if we don't confront it tonight, I think maybe we should have another meeting about it. And that is the long range concept of colonial appearance of historic company. There's not much left of the historical structures, just the two. Williams Ordinary and then Williams.
Yeah.
And
Henderson, yeah.
There's one other home up the street that belongs to a merchant prince in town. With the exception of the three buildings, two of which are off the main road.
Yeah.
There's not much here of historical value. So if the town, there's no use kidding ourselves trying to impose things that would be of consideration in Colonial Williamsburg or some New England historic town, Sturbridge Village.
Yeah.
If we're going to go modern, then I think that that pretty well parts us off.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. And it's been hard in the last year or two because you see all of the development that's coming forward and you're trying to deal with, what's out there in terms of the ARB guidelines, but also a lot of these businesses along Main Street over the years haven't paid attention to them and have just built without approval. And I can't retroactively go back to something that they did like 10 or 20 years ago and find them or tell them, hey, come to ARB, it's one of those things where, the town is in a unique scenario right now. And it's just, I think we're still trying to figure out our identity as well. So I think as things develop in the future, we definitely will want to keep you all informed and kind of get your opinion on things. So I appreciate the thought behind that as well. So thank you.
So I have one item that's kind of a heads up announcement.
Hey.
I'm moving out of the town in March.
Okay.
No
Okay.
longer qualified to be a ARB.
Okay.
And it's been a pleasure working with everybody.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you retiring?
No, I can work from home. We're moving down to King George, out in the country a little bit. Right now, I go in 3 days, but I probably, it's a doable commute. It'll be long, but.
So that's the chance that we've been sent to the
Longest serving.
oldest guy here. Well, not physically oldest, oldest on here. So with that said, Nick, you're probably gonna have to put the ground and
Yep.
start advertising for, because you were the residential.
Yeah, there's 3 presidents. There's one person who is the expert, which is you, which is the chair, and then there's one person who's the outside of town president.
Business owner or architect.
Architect, yep, that's what it is.
Just 3 presidents.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame, Jim. Well, hopefully we'll do it being next month before you leave out.
yeah. Which will,
I'm just gonna request, this is the last thing that I've got, is I just would like to see. And if you could just isolate it, because I'm sure the set of plans is massive for the roses.
Yeah.
Is just isolate that one site.
Yeah.
The sign, and just so. We could take a look at it and I could go off at it a little bit.
yeah,
Kick it.
yeah. And I'll be honest with you, yeah, so the plans for the roads, there's around 700 pages.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that large of a plan, so I was gonna say you probably,
That are massive too, so I've heard from you.
yeah. But yeah, I will get that to you guys. I will get that to you all this week at some point. But yeah, are there any other questions or any other conversations or?
Yeah, nothing. Larry? Jim?
No.
Nothing? All right, well, I'm gonna call to adjourn the meeting at 6:40. I'm gonna make a motion.
Second.
All in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
6:40, adjourn, Nick, I appreciate it, sir.
Of course.
Yeah.
Thank you.